planks. All right, so let's get started. I'm gonna have you spin around onto your hands and knees. And for this position, I want you to make sure that your hands are directly underneath your shoulders and your knees are directly underneath your hips. Once you get into this position, I want you to think about drawing your shoulder blades down the back, pulling your ribs and abs in and up, and then slightly drawing your knees and hands towards the center line of your mat. That's just gonna give you a little bit extra support there. As you're here, I want a little bit of a rotation in the upper arm so that your elbow pits here are facing the front center point of your mat. Anytime that you find you're feeling unusually tired in one arm, one shoulder, one hip, come back to this position, reconvene, and just, again, think about shoulders down, abs and ribs in, spiraling of the upper arm in the socket, and just squeezing the arms and knees towards the midline. That's going to give you the most support you could possibly have on all 4 points so that you aren't sinking in the shoulders or sinking in one hip. All right, so we're going to start with just some basic full cat-cows. I want you to think of reaching long out the top of the head, long out the sternum, and then you're sending your tailbone and your sits bones, which are those bony points at the bottom of the pelvis, up and out. Okay, so I'm still supported in my abs. I'm not sinking in my shoulders. I'm not sinking in my spine. It's really important that you learn how to stay supported through your abs as you reach your sternum forward and your tailbone back and up. From there, I want you to deepen the lower abs, draw that pubic bone forward as you're lifting the abs up, and then the rest of the spine follows. I'm pressing up through the space between my shoulder blades here, getting a nice stretch along the back of my rib cage, and then lengthen out through the top of the head, lengthen out through the sternum, lengthen out through those sits bones and the tailbone, reaching the sternum forward and the tailbone back. So I'm not collapsing in my spine, I'm not releasing my abs. Deepen the abs even further, pulling that pubic bone forward and up, pressing up through that space between your two shoulder blades. And we're gonna do one more. I call this a full cat-cow. Reaching long through the sternum, shoulder blades pulling down, abs tight. And scoop through the lower belly, deepen those abs. And come back to your neutral spine. I'm going to keep my thoracic or upper spine stable here. I'm just doing the part through the pelvis. So I'm reaching that sits bone, tailbone, out and up, and then deepening the scoop and curl through the lower abs to draw that pubic bone forward. And I'm trying as best I can to not let anything from the rib cage up move. And scoop and curl. And we're just gonna do one more there. Deepen those abs, scoop to curl. Come back to your neutral spine. So that is shoulder blades down the back, ribs in, abs tight. You don't wanna be too curled, you don't wanna be too arched. So you're going to have a little bit of a length through that lumbar spine, and you're still reaching the sternum forward, but not up. And from here, we are doing scapular push-ups. So your scapular are your shoulder blades, and all we're doing here is we are drawing the shoulder blades towards each other, wrapping them around the rib cage towards the spine, and then you're widening those shoulder blades away from each other. And now I said push-up, but that does not mean you get to bend the elbows. So your elbows are gonna stay nice and long. I still have my upper arms rotated, and I'm just drawing the shoulder blades towards each other and then pressing them away. I'm doing my best to keep my abs tight and my ribs in and my spine straight here. I'm trying to not push away so much that my shoulders go up by my ears or my ribs are reaching up towards the ceiling. I'll do two more here. And last one. Good. So we're gonna stay in this position, and I want you to think about sliding your right arm and your left leg along the mat so your toes and your fingertips are still touching the ground. we're never going to come back all the way in. I find that people tend to shift too much in their hips in order to bring that knee back in. So I want you to think that this is your starting point and your ending point. Pull the abs in and up. Try to keep thinking of pulling the hand and the knee towards the center line, even though you've removed one of each. From here, shoulder blades down, ribs stay tight. Think about reaching long out the fingertips, long out the toes to lift the arm and leg, and then lengthen them back down. I want you to think of moving the arm in the socket and the leg in the hip socket to go up and down here. You shouldn't have anything moving in the spine, and you shouldn't have any rocking back and forth side to side. So you're really only moving that upper arm bone and that leg bone. And next one, you're going to hold up. And from here, I like to call these windshield wipers. You're going to reach the arm and the leg out to their respective sides and then bring them back to center. As you do this, you're trying to keep everything stable. I don't care how far the arm or the leg go. I want the arm and the leg to move in their spot sockets. 2 more. Bring those in. Take a second, shimmy it out. Reset for the other side. So, hands and knees, shoulders down the back, abs tight, ribs in. Spiral that upper arm, squeeze towards the midline. And now that you've set that squeeze, don't lose it as you slide the left arm and right leg. Abs nice and tight, and lengthen out to go up. And so what I'm not wanting is the leg to go all the way up but your back to arch. So we're really looking for the back to stay stable and the arm and leg to move independently. I like to think of reaching out more than reaching up. The up will happen if you're reaching out long enough. And stay up, and your wipers. And so again, I'm not wanting you to go further and ruin the positioning of the hips. I want everything to stay stable. Bring it back to center and lower it down. Go ahead and sit back on your knees. Roll your wrists out for a second. And then we're gonna go back into that same hand and knee position, and we're gonna do some knee floats. So returning to the same position, only now you're gonna tuck your toes under. So I'm still shoulder blades down, abs tight, ribs in, spiral the upper arms. And from here, I'm squeezing my hands in, squeezing my knees in, and now I have that added bonus of the toes squeezing towards the midline. Keep that belly nice and tight. On an exhale, all I want you to do is float your knees off about 1 inch. So exhale, belly lifts to float the knees, and lower back down on the inhale. And belly lifts to float the knees, and back down. And ideally, you're feeling your abs doing this, not your quads. Now, stay up. Try to keep your hips stable. Right leg slides out. Left leg slides out. Right leg slides in. Left leg slides in. Still hovering. Left slides out. Right slides out. Left in. Right in. Right. Left. Right. Left. Last one. Left. Right, left, right, and now step it back into your plank and just hold, deepening the abs. And come in. And child's pose. Hips back on the heels, reaching those arms forward. And go ahead and come sitting up. And just roll those wrists out. Good. And that is our front support series. It's getting us ready for planks. We finished with a center plank there. I want you to think anytime you're going into a plank series, all of those cues, abs tight, ribs in, shoulder blades down the back, that little bit of spiral in the upper arm, and everything pulls together towards the midline, all right? If you do that, you should have a nice, solid, strong plank. See you next time.